Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our regular and last 11 o'clock press briefing. Just to confirm, because there was some excitement about it, I can confirm the President will be here tomorrow at 11 o'clock with me. But for the time being, you have to put up with myself and Madame Yan. We're doing today's press briefing. Let me just tell you, the President today will be at the ice hockey women's final. And he'll be here tomorrow, so some more sport then. So without further ado, let me hand over to Madame Yan. We are, as we always do at the end of the games, or towards the end of the games, we start talking about volunteers. But I'll let Madame Yan explain and introduce her guests. Over to you.
Thank you, Mark.
Today online, we have the Director General of the Volunteer Department of Beijing 2022, Madam Tang Shengping, and our old friend, Mr. Huang Chun, of the Pandemic Prevention and Control Office. And I'm sure you have also noticed that we have this very special Olympian next to me. And I think from her clothes, you probably have guessed that she's one of the many volunteers for the Games. And her name is Wei Yining. I believe that in the past days, we all feel the same for these lovely volunteers. They are the smiling faces that have been welcoming everyone, and the company that has always been on the field of play with non-stop applauses, and the friends that are hard to say goodbye to after the games. Even though they don't always have so many thrilling stories, they have been delivering kindness with their smiles and fulfilling their duties with professionalism. In 2008, the world was impressed by the volunteers, and now these lovely people in blue are still the best business card of the city that has hosted both editions of the Olympic Games. From 2008 to 2022, volunteering has been deeply rooted in people's hearts, and volunteer service has been integrated into all fields of our social life here. And the Olympic Games have left us not only with the landmark buildings and better and new regional development, but also with the trend of volunteering and social civilization. These are all the tangible legacy of the Olympic Winter Games, and that bears the hope and the future of the Olympic Games. Now some updates on the Games. First, competitions. Yesterday, 12 events were held in 8 competition venues. 8 gold medals were created, and today 10 events will be held in 8 competition venues with 6 gold medals. And in terms of pandemic prevention and control, between midnight to 23:59 on the 15th of February, we had 7 inbound participants, 0 athlete or team officials, 7 other stakeholders, and 0 was tested positive at the customs. Also, during the same period, a total of 68,970 PCR tests were conducted inside the closed loop. 5,239 are for athletes and team officials, 63,731 for other stakeholders, with 0 positive case. And the CLM was also adopted for all the participants and the staff. Weather today is sunny to cloudy in Beijing, with temperature between -7 to 0 degrees Celsius. There will be light to moderate snowfall in Zhangjiakou and light snow in Yanqing, and the maximum mountaintop gusts in the morning will be 14 meters per second. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's talk volunteers for a short period. As I say, we will discuss, as ever, anything you want to, but let's start with Ms. Tang from BOCOG headquarters. If you'd like to start, madam, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Beijing 2022 will close in 3 days' time. We would like to thank all the friends from media for covering and reporting the stories of the volunteers every day. This is a recognition of the high-level service provided by the volunteers. Volunteers are an important support for the success of Beijing Olympics and Paralympics. We follow the principle of having a streamlined, safe, and splendid games. We recruited altogether 18,196 volunteers, 63% of them in Beijing zone, 12% from Yanqing, and 25% in Zhangjiakou. 94% of them are under the age of 35. These volunteers work in various venues and sites, covering competition sites, non-competition sites, and they work in different functional areas, including sports competition, venue management, language service, and press operation. All the volunteers received proper training before they started their service, general training, training on specific venues and on specific positions, and some of the volunteers have received some professional training. In the process of our work, we have also introduced the lounge of volunteers so that we can provide support also to the volunteers at all the competition and non-competition venues. This is the first time in the Olympic history to provide a lounge for volunteers. And these volunteers have used all their imagination and talents to decorate their volunteers' lounge. They used Chinese calligraphy, painting, paper cutting, and they have done the interior design of their lounge themselves so that they can enjoy this cozy place where they can have a rest, they can learn from each other, share their views, and build their team. And so this is a very nice place for the volunteers. All the functional areas of BOCA have also provided sufficient support to the volunteers, including their accreditation, uniforms, food and beverage, accommodation, transport, medical, insurance, and logistics, so we can make sure that the volunteers can serve all the participants without having to worry about anything. A lot of stories have been covered by the media about how the volunteers have been providing their support and service to the game. For example, U.S. athlete Tessa Maud and a student from Tsinghua University, Sun Zeyu, was well known by people over the internet, and the internet has become a platform where people share their best wishes, encouragement, and friendship. And in Zhangjiakou, volunteer Miss Liu Yao, she was working very hard in the cold weather and wind, and that scene was captured by an AP journalist, Alessandra Tarantino. Another volunteer, Duana, introduced a QR code for the journalist with regard to the schedule of the TG lines. This is very well recognized by the transport site visit of IOC, and a lot of the volunteers at the venues and hold their flags and dance together with the audience, some warming up exercise, and so to create the good atmosphere for the venues. So these over 18,000 volunteers are just like small snowflakes working in their position and demonstrating the best of themselves. At the opening ceremony of Beijing 2022, President Bach mentioned that we need to express our gratitude to all the volunteers at the moment moment when we arrive in Beijing, we felt that we are at home because of the loving smile of the volunteers. In the next couple of days, we'll make sure that the volunteers will be the ambassadors of culture, friendship, and solidarity. We hope that all the friends from media will continuously support the work of the volunteers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mrs. Teng. Okay, I have with us a volunteer who's going to speak very briefly about her experience. So away you go.
各位记者，冬奥会的志愿者。
Dear media friends and volunteer friends, good morning. I'm Wei Yining. I'm a postgraduate at Beijing Forestry University, and I am one of the 19,000 volunteers serving the Beijing Games. Over the past month, I have been one of the volunteers at the MMC. 1 month ago, I wouldn't imagine that I would one day be sitting here to share with you my experience, and I would feel very nervous to see so many cameras and people from the media. But now, I think I feel less nervous. Because in the past month, I have met so many friends from the media all over the world. You are all very professional and very warm. The one question that I was asked the most is, why did you decide to become a volunteer at the Olympic Winter Games? I want to say that I am here because of love. My dad is a sports fan, and he passed on his love for sports to me. I remember that in the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games, I was sitting in front of the TV set together with my dad. And now I'm here together with the love of both of us to serve the Beijing Games. And in the process of volunteering, I saw that all the volunteers are here because of such love. And we sometimes joke that we had gray hair for the first time because of the snowfall. And we are also touched by the smile and sweat of all the volunteers. And because we all love volunteering, we love Olympic Games, and that is why we became the volunteers for the Beijing Games. And this Olympic Winter Games is very special because we spent the Olympic New Year. Many people asked me, do you feel sad that you cannot celebrate the Chinese New Year at home? My answer is no, because this will forever be a memorable New Year experience for me. For 2 years, the whole world is fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic. But because of the Olympic Winter Games, we are gathered together, we're united together. Therefore, we know it is so hard, it's so valuable for us to be able to be together and inspire each other. I remember that on the evening of the opening ceremony, I was outside the bird's nest to guide the media professionals, and I remember that some of them have just finished work almost midnight and were catching their bus back. We were waving at each other, saying good night, and that made me very warm on that cold night. I answered 2 questions just now to the friends from media, and I also want to ask one question. So after the games, what is the one thing that you want to bring back the most? I think many people will tell me that that is Bing Dun Dun, that you want to take home. But here I also want to give you another gift. That is the warmth from the volunteers of the Beijing Games. The temperature in Beijing is still minus, but our hearts are still very warm. I hope that this warmth will stay with you all the time, and together with this unforgettable experience, we can go toward the future that is faster, higher, stronger, and together for a shared future. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Okay, let's take questions, obviously, on this and other subjects. So let's start with the lady there in the black, and then we'll come to the gentleman here.
Thanks, Mark. I'm with Reuters. I got a COVID-related question for Mr. Huang, so I'll ask in Mandarin.
Mr. Huang, we noticed that yesterday it's the first time for us to discover no positive case at the airport and inside the closed loop. Is that because some of the participants have already left and we now have less people inside the closed loop? Yesterday I asked how many people are still inside the closed loop and how many people have left. Do you have any numbers to share with us today? Also, this zero case, is it within your expectations? And in the future, in the next days, do you expect to still have zero cases? And also my last question is, the countermeasures within the closed loop, are the, in terms of the future pandemic control in China and the opening up of China, will it play a role in that? Thank you for your question. The first is about the number of people inside the closed loop. We have been following the changes because the Olympic Winter Games will close very soon, and we now have less and less inbound people. Some of them are here for the Paralympic Winter Games. And the number of people leaving China has been increasing. So of course, after the closing ceremony, we still will have a peak time for departure. We have some rough numbers. Now, we already have more than 2,000 people that have left China, and within the closed loop, we still have more than 13,000, almost 14,000 people inside the closed loop. And every day, according to the number of PCR tests, we can have a rough estimate for the numbers every day. And the number of cases that we have received has been dropping. And yesterday we had a zero case, the zero positive case, which shows that the overall countermeasures inside the closed loop, because of the strict implementation of all parties, have been effective. Especially inside the closed loop, we also had a zero positive case based on the daily tests. And that proves that the countermeasures inside the closed loop has been effective. I forgot your third question. Can you repeat that? The third question is the CLM policy and the countermeasures inside the closed loop. What is the role that it will play to the overall pandemic control in China and for the opening up of China? Well, I think that recently we have always been talking about the Olympic legacy and achievements. I think through hosting the Games successfully and the successful implementation of the countermeasures, that is a successful model of Olympic Winter Games against the backdrop of the COVID-19. And I think for the future epidemic control and prevention in Beijing, I'm sure it will be a good example or reference. But of course, we still have to summarize all the experiences after the Games. But I think it will help us in the future. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I think there was a gentleman. Yeah, okay, sir, and then someone, yeah, there. Do you want to ask a question? Yeah, please. Yeah, you too. Yes, sir. Either of you, yeah, please.
Yeah, this is for you, Mark. I haven't been to the earlier presses, so you might have answered this already. In the closing ceremony and also the opening ceremony, the Taiwanese delegation, or the Chinese Taipei delegation, as you call it, wasn't going to attend until the IOC got in touch with them and said they had to. I haven't seen an explanation for what the reason was. Could you explain that to me?
I'm not sure that narrative is correct. I don't actually know what the details are about the conversations with them, but we were assured by the NOC of Chinese Taipei that they would take part in the opening ceremony, and they did. Seems a long time ago now, but yes, they did. So,
well, looking forward to the closing ceremony. So they said they wouldn't. They said the athletes in the delegation wouldn't appear in the closing ceremony, and then they said that the IOC had been in touch and told them that they had to. And they said that they'd been told it was in breach of the Olympic Charter. So I just wondered if you could explain that position.
It is in the Olympic Charter. I don't know what the conversations were about, whether we told them or whether they understood or whatever, but they took part. So we consider the matter closed. They took part. It is an obligation for all NSCs to take part in the opening ceremony.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, next question was a gentleman here, yeah,
Mark.
in blue. Oh,
Could I just make some supplementary remarks, because this is something that we really have to take a very solemn position. What
What I want to say is that there is only one China in the world. Taiwan is an indivisible part of China. This is a well-recognized international principle and well-recognized in the international community. We are always against the idea of politicizing the Olympic Games. IOC has 206 members, including People's Republic of China, National Olympic Committee, including Chinese Taipei, the Regional Olympic Committee. Thank you.
gentleman here, yeah, please, and then I think Kyoto there. Gentleman from Kyoto, yeah. So you, sir, yes, please, quickly if you can, because we need to get a move on. Thank you.
中国新闻社记者想问一下，作为志愿者的魏一宁，就是在志愿服务。
My question is to volunteer Wei Yining. As a volunteer, what is one of your most memorable experience? What have you learned and what have you gained from this experience? Is there anything different from your expectation? Thank you. What is most memorable to me? I shared already some of them with you just now. So on the night of the opening ceremony, we were outside the bird nest and giving guidance to media friends. It was cold but warm. We were all together. The second question you asked about was what I learned and what the difficulties were. What I want to say is that this is something I love doing. I love being a volunteer. This experience by itself is the things that I have gained most. I've also gained the friendship of a lot of my colleagues and other volunteers. What is difficult for me? I'm from southern China. My hometown is in southern China. I'm not very much used to the very cold weather in northern China. The organizing committee has given us a lot of support, and we have hot food. We are being dressed very warmly, and so this has all been keeping us warm. The third question you asked was, is there anything different from my expectation? Yes. Yes, there is something different from what I had expected. This is absolutely beyond my imagination. This experience is so memorable and impressive. I was expecting to gain the friendship of only 10 people, but now I have gained much more than that, which is totally beyond my imagination. Thank you.
Yeah, gentleman from Kyoto News there, please. Yeah. And then gentleman behind in a grey
Kyoto
sweater.
News Japan, and let me use Japanese. アダムスさんと
I have a question to Mr. Adams
コウシュンさん、ワンチュンさんに一個ずつ
and Dr. Wang Chun. I have a question to each of you and to Mr. Adams
ワリエワ選手の問題に関連してなん
about
ですけど
Valieva.
IOC はフィギュアスケートの団体で
IOC
2位になったアメリカ、それと3位に
says
なった日本の
USA
選手に
was number 2 and number 3 was Japan. And have they given the torches to the medalists because they couldn't win the medals? So did they think about those medalists, even though they couldn't get medals, they can get the torches? And this is a question to Dr. Ko Shun. And you are controlling the COVID-19 situation. question. Have you ever had any violation of the playbooks? For example, some people try to go out of the closed loop, any de-accreditation. And in the summer game in Tokyo 2020, we had such cases. So I'd like to ask you about it.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you've all seen the statement from the USOPC this morning. Actually, I think it came last night. We can confirm that a meeting occurred today between President Park and the USA figure skating team. However, the details and content of that discussion should remain between them. So, for obvious reasons, we won't be commenting further. And we've spoken to the Japanese Olympic Committee, who've told us that they fully accept the IOC's approach to the situation. That's the reason why there was no meeting with their athletes, but they are fully in agreement that any discussion should be up to the athletes concerned. So we will not be adding to any details. All the speculation that's around, it all makes for good copy and front pages and so on, but I won't be adding to any of it, I'm afraid. Yes, sir. Gentleman here. No, I'm sorry. I've done my usual thing. I've done my usual trick. I think there was a question to BOCOG side, no? Yeah. I'm very sorry to our colleague from Kyoto.
I'm ready to answer that question. Before the beginning of the Games and also during the time of the Games, we have introduced a very detailed policy for closed-loop management, and it seems now we can see that the policy and the countermeasures have been very effective. In our policy, we made it very clear that there can be no breaches or infringement of any of the countermeasures. We need to absolutely prevent the spread of the virus from any spread of the cases within the loop to outside loop to the city. So far, all the policies and countermeasures are being observed very strictly, including friends from the media. So overall, it is being implemented very effectively. Of course, we also see some individual cases people who are breaching the rules, but we found out that that was very much because of some misunderstanding or miscommunication of the relevant rules, and no negative impact was introduced because of that act. If we look at our countermeasures, these have already been proven very effective. We would like to thank all the participants, athletes, and friends from media for such cooperation, and we hope that we can carry on such spirit of understanding and cooperation during the times of Paralympics. Thank you.
To this side for a bit, I think colleague from the Times, I think, wanted to ask a question. Then we'll come down to you gentlemen here, and then Wakako. Thank you.
A question for Wei Yining, if I can, please. Wei, are you aware of who Peng Shuai is? Are you aware of her post on Weibo, and do you think she is safe in your country?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't really know that.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Yeah, two gentlemen here. Yeah.
Good morning, Ian Axon from Reuters Television. Mark, what's the IOC's reaction to Madam Yan's comments on Taiwan or Chinese Taipei, and to both BOCOG and to you, Mark? Was that not a political statement when sport and politics don't mix?
Yeah, just to say from us that our concern here is with the 206 National Olympic Committees, and that's what we're concerned about. There are many views on all sorts of things around the world, but our job is to make sure that the Games take place and the magic of the Games can happen, and that we can improve the world through sport, as you know, supported by the United Nations, supported by a resolution by all 193 members of the United Nations. And so we get on with our job and making sure that all of those athletes from all around the world can compete in a fair way. So I don't really have very much to add to that. Yes, sir.
Hello, Angus Watson from CNN. Rights groups this week have called on the IOC to release more information regarding due diligence studies into its uniforms. Are you willing to release those studies in more detail, and are you confident that your uniforms don't include products made by Uyghur forced labour?
Yes, to your last question there. What I can tell you is that there is a great deal of information on the website. I'm sure you've seen it and been through it. There are pages and pages and pages. The IOC's report on its due diligence highlights the detailed work done with regard to our responsible program for goods that we commission in the context of the Games. None of our products, none of the production took place in Xinjiang, nor any of the input or raw materials come from that region. As explained in the public report, the materials used for our anti-uniforms are made of recycled materials, which have been third-party certified according to the Global Recycling Standard, GRS. And to make it clear, none of those materials used in our anti-sports uniforms contain any cotton, only recycled polyester, nylon, and acrylic. With regard to the former uniforms, which you probably may or may not have seen, but we sometimes have to wear them at the session and so on, our partner HYX produces high-quality suits, pays special attention to the quality of the raw materials, sourcing materials from around the world, from wool to leather and indeed cotton. We've received the records of provenance provided by the International Trading Company. This shows that the cotton comes from outside of China.
If I could just follow up very quickly.
Sure.
ANTA does have products on its shelves for sale that do include Xinjiang cotton. Is that a brand that the IOC is comfortable representing?
To be honest, I'm not aware of those products that you're talking about, but I'm sure I can have a look at them tomorrow. I'm just purely answering about our responsibility for our uniforms. And we are very proud of our sponsor, ANTA. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I feel obliged to make a very quick comment.
I think the so-called forced labor in Xinjiang is lies made up by deliberate groups, and the relevant organizations have provided a large amount of facts to dispute that, and we are against the politicizing of sports. Thank you.
Lady here, and then Wakako.
With CMG, my question is, thank you, volunteer. My question is to Mr. Huang Chun. The theme today is volunteers, so I'm interested in knowing that among so many volunteers, because within the closed loop, they will be in contact with a lot of foreign or inbound participants. So are there any positive cases among them? And also, you said that we wanted to make sure there was no violation against the playbook, and besides effective outcome, what kind of lessons you think we need to learn, or what kind of experiences we can draw upon? Thank you for your question. Every day, the positive cases would be analyzed and summarized. And ever since January the 4th, the accumulative number of positive cases have been analyzed. Besides, all stakeholders have had positive cases, but non-positive cases have been found among the volunteers inside the closed loop. Although we did have positive cases inside the closed loop for athletes and other stakeholders, but we never found any close contact among the volunteers, which shows that the team of volunteers has been very carefully picked and has been a very professional and high-quality team of volunteers who have strictly followed the playbook. And so far, I think they have kept in very good health status, and I'm very confident in their continuous work during the Paralympic Winter Games. For the next step, the questions of concern, as the person in charge of countermeasures during the Games, I have been following the implementation of the countermeasures inside the closed loop. to see whether there is any possible spreading of the cases due to poor implementation of the playbook, and that which will impact the smooth running of the competitions, and also if there is any violations of the CLM. What I was most concerned about is also because of a poor personal protection or other negligence, there might be possible infections because of that. What also concerned me is that the PCR tests has been the most useful tool for us to discover positive cases. I was concerned about whether there had been anyone missing the PCR test. So those are the concerns that I have had, but so far they are no longer my concern because they have all been very well followed. The rules have been very well followed. So I really thank all the parties concerned, including those inside and outside the closed loop, to support the CLM with a very effective results. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, Wakako Yuki there from Yomiuri, please.
Thank you so much, Mark. First, two questions to you. I understand President would have his rare absence from women's free figure skating tonight. Any particular reason? And also, could you tell us this gift, a possible gift, would involve individual or women's participants? Does it also, would the IOC also talk to ROC, given that other athletes are innocent until proven guilty otherwise? And also one question to Ms. Wei. Hello. Thank you indeed for your and your colleagues' work here. We do appreciate it. Of course, as you might listen to the conversation here, there are divisions in the world, but you met people who maybe we can say voices and face representing the world here. And what was your impression? What sort of realization would you like to bring it to your future? Thank you.
Yeah, I think thank you, Wakako. I'll just answer my questions first, if that's okay. Yeah, as I said yesterday, we are obviously in touch with the Russian Olympic Committee at very many levels, so we are in day-to-day contact with them. In terms of the president's agenda, I'm afraid I'm not in charge of that agenda. It changes day by day, so I wouldn't really want to make any further comment. I don't control it, and I don't know his whereabouts apart from what I tell you every morning at 11 o'clock, which quite often changes at 10 o'clock. So who knows where he might be tomorrow, for example. Yes, I could take a question from, let's take Steve Wade. Oh, sorry, I'm doing it again. Please. Not doing a very good job here today. Off you go.
Thank you for your question. You asked me what can I bring to my future. This experience of working as a volunteer here is quite valuable. I learned from the journalist how to be committed and highly efficient, and I learned from the athletes how I can achieve the best of myself. So this will be something that can influence my whole life. So we are moving toward higher, faster, quicker, and together. So what I can say is that I will do my best to make sure that we can all achieve that motto. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve Wade, I think you wanted a question from AP.
Hi, Stephen Wade from Associated Press. This is for Ms. Wei. You've described what is a very privileged position. You're among 18,000, 19,000 volunteers who get inside and watch these games. You do it without a salary. I assume you probably don't need a salary. Do you think maybe it would be better if people were paid to do the job? And also, there must be a lot of people in China who are not in your position, who could use the education, who could use the experience, perhaps more than you. Could you comment on that, please?
是这样的，
whether we are paid a salary or not, because we are volunteers, absolutely we are not paid. So volunteers, that's what we are, that's who we are. The meaningfulness of being a volunteer is not being measured by money.
如果大家有机会能够在
I
这里的话，
think
他们
for
都会
any
非
one
常
of
非
the
常愿意参与
volunteers,
进来。
whoever can be here, work as a volunteer, and this must be a valuable experience for anybody.
Yes, thank you very much. Go, gentleman there. And did you want a question as well, or no? Yeah, gentleman. No, in black. Yeah, that's good. Quite a few people in black. Christophe Becker as well.
Emmanuel Pionnier from AFP. First, I want to say merci beaucoup to the volunteers in French. They do a very good job. And Mark, I got a question for you. Earlier, you mentioned that the Japanese Figure Skating Federation didn't approve your approach of the Valieva case and didn't ask for a meeting. So should I understand that the Americans didn't? And did they ask for that meeting with Mr. Bach?
I don't know the full details. I think it was an initiative from us. I think the president wanted to speak to the athletes because only by speaking to them can you really hear what they've got to say and what they really, really want, rather than everyone expounding what they think they want. So I think I would need to check, but I'm almost certain that the initiative came from the president because, being an athlete himself, being an Olympian, he wanted to understand how they felt. And so I think then an approach was also made to the Japanese Olympic Committee. I think that was the process, and they said they didn't need a meeting because they were totally aligned with our position. I can check, but I'm almost certain it came from the president. It's the kind of initiative he would come up with. Christophe Becker, I think.
Yes, good morning, Christoph Becker from Frankfurt Allgemeine Zeitung. This was actually a nice touch, so I will say Dankeschön to the volunteers as well. And then I have a question for you, Mark. After what Madame Yan just said, I would like to hear, if you can, the IOC's position on the existence of concentration camps in Xinjiang and the existence of forced labor in Xinjiang. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a view from Madame Yang. What I would say is I don't think it's particularly relevant to this press conference. It's certainly not relevant to the IOC. We are very, very concerned about protecting human rights within our sphere, which is within the Olympic Games, within the staging of the Olympic Games, and protecting the rights of the athletes and all participants of the Olympic Games. So that's what we do. We leave it to other organizations, the United Nations, international organizations, to look at aspects outside of what is happening here. The Games themselves bring a great deal of benefit to the world in terms of showing people how, working together, we can bring a shared feeling of what the world could look like if there was cooperation. And without harping on it again, you know, there was a UN resolution supported by every single country, 193 countries in the world supporting these games. We had the United Nations Secretary General at these games. We had the President of the United Nations Assembly at these games. We had many, many people at these games. The point being that they understand, and in fact even administrations around the world who have boycotted these games politically understand the importance of having ways of reaching out, talking, having areas of competition and areas of dispute, but also having areas of cooperation. And the Olympic Games is an area where the world can cooperate. And the world has shown, the United Nations has shown, all 193 countries unanimously have shown that they want these games to go ahead. And who are we to disagree with that? We think that the games and the values that they bring, and people see those values on their televisions, or unfortunately not so many people here but because of COVID, but when they're at the games, they understand that bringing the world together is actually even more important at a time like this, even more important that we bring the world together when there is such dispute. And there can be areas of discussion and debate, and countries have made that aware. Countries that are in dispute with China have agreed that there should be cooperation and that this is an area that cooperation should take place. So to your exact question, those questions taking place outside of the Games, anywhere in the world, by the way, anywhere in the world where we may be having a future Games, whether it's Italy, whether it's the United States coming up, or Paris, or France. Those are all questions for other people. Our question is to make sure that we protect the rights of the Games and the participants of the Games, and the Games can take place for the athletes against that background to show this message of unity and solidarity to the world.
Hi, Mark. Although this question is raised to you, and also the issues are irrelevant to the Winter Games, but I still feel obliged to make the quick comment again, to say that 这些问题都是一些
I think these questions are very much based on lies. Some authorities have already disputed such false information with a lot of solid evidence. You are very welcome to refer to all those evidence and facts. Thank you.
Okay, let's take another question. Sorry, sir, you've already had a question. Gentleman just beside you there. We'll try and get around as many people as we can in the time.
您好，天津海河传媒中心的记者。
A journalist from Tianjin. The topic today is about volunteers. So my question is to Wei Yining and Madam Teng. During the time of the Olympic Winter Games, 18,000 volunteers have been working very hard at the Games. Actually, behind the volunteers, there are also the support of the families and families and friends of the volunteers. So could you like to share some of those stories with us? Thank you.
请滕部长先回答。
Shall I invite Madam Teng to answer that question first, and then Yining will take that as well. Thank you for your question. We have over 18,000 volunteers. They are from various sources. Of course, they are absolutely supported by their families and friends. During the time of the Spring Festival, the Latin Festival, these volunteers cannot get together with their families because they have to work here. In the volunteers lounge, we just now mentioned that we have been linking the volunteers together with their family, and they have all received the support from their family. Their families members have all been telling them to work here and do their best. And all the volunteers themselves, and they share this time and this experience together. They exchange with each other, talk to each other, and they support each other as well. We have also been doing some survey during the time of the volunteering service. At the time of the Games, a lot of the volunteers said that they have gained quite a lot, and we asked the volunteers whether they would like to continue to serve as a volunteer during the times of the Paralympics. All the volunteers said firmly that they would like to continue to serve as a volunteer during the Paralympics. So the volunteers are all being very well supported by their families and supports, and they have got a lot of support and understanding from their family and friends. Thank you.
To answer your question, I want to say that my parents are very proud of me, although I couldn't meet them and be with them during the Chinese New Year, but they have been watching the Games, and they feel very proud knowing that I'm actually here, and I'm also very proud of that. And I also want to thank all the people with the media for your camera, because a lot of volunteers appeared on in your cameras, and that has brought a lot of comfort to my parents. Thank you.
Yeah, let's go for Graham from AP, and then we have a gentleman from CMG, I think, there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Graham Dunbar from the AP. Once again, thank you to volunteers. You've certainly been the friendly faces of these Games. Two questions for Madam Yan. One about attendances. Hockey is declaring its attendance figures at Games. Figures are coming in about average about 800 per game, which is about 5 to 10% of capacity, not the 30 to 50% that Christophe Duby said at the start of the game. Just wondering why attendances have been so low at hockey. And also your colleague, Mr. Zhao, yesterday said he was going to come back to us with some information as to why our friend from Kyoto was prevented from asking questions of the Hong Kong athlete at the skiing on on Sunday. Our friend from Kyoto was doing legitimate work in the mix zone, which is absolutely protected under Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter, not, as Mr. Zhao said, that BOCOG was trying to defend the Olympic Charter. So I was wondering what information Mr. Zhao came back to you to explain why it was that BOCOG staff would prevent questions being asked.
Well, the first half of your question I didn't really follow, so my understanding is that you were asking about a certain competition about the spectators. Is that right? So, regarding the spectators during the Olympic Winter Games, I have answered several times. I don't have anything else to add. So if you were here in the previous briefings, I don't have any additional information to add. To the second question, we did some preliminary investigation into the situation, but we still need to gather more information on that. What I want to emphasize is that the organizing committee has been following the host city contract and the Olympic Charter to protect the freedom of speech of all the participants, and we are also against the politicizing of sports. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I mean, I understand it's an isolated case. I haven't heard of any similar case. It's clearly not what we want. We have spoken to BOCOG, and hopefully the matter is closed, but and there will be no repeat. So yes, sir, over there.
I'm with CMG. I want to ask Madam Yan. The Olympic Winter Games will close very soon, and recently people have been expressing their interests in the closing ceremony. So can you share with us how is the preparation going for the closing ceremony, and what other highlights can we expect? Thank you for your question. As far as I know, the closing ceremony will focus more on the athletes because after very hard training and competitions, this should be the time, the moment for athletes to celebrate. So we will still keep it simple, like the opening ceremony, but following the protocols related rules according to the IOC guideline. And through hosting the Winter Games, Beijing has become the first city to host both editions of the Olympic Games. And in that regard, there will be some elements at the closing ceremony. That is the only thing I can share. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to a question from Xinhua. And then I think someone at the back there.
Thanks, Mark.
First of all, I'd like to say to Wei Yining and all the volunteers, thank you. I feel really old compared to your generation. And as the Olympic Winter Games approaching the end, what the organizing committee want to say to the volunteers? Madam Yan. I think volunteers are the best-known business card for the Beijing Games. Even though they are all wearing masks, I am sure you can feel their sincerity and their passion behind the visual mask. For us to host a successful games, we need the excellent performance of the athletes, but also all the volunteers behind the scenes and their hard work. I have some numbers that I can share with you. Only at the MMC, we have 557 volunteers serving almost 10,000 accredited press and broadcasters. And speaking of people behind the scene, I think they include not only the very warm volunteers in blue, but also the medical professionals wearing very thick protective wear who have been providing tests for us every day, and also the professionals who provide rescue at the venue, and also the interpreters who are providing services for the games, including the simultaneous interpreters who are now working at this meeting room. And all of them are the people behind the scenes, but have been working in all corners of our venues. Beijing Olympic Winter Games is the first comprehensive international event, winter event that was hosted ever since the COVID-19. It needs not only strong organization and leadership, but also very professional and hardworking people behind the scene. They are like all the nails in a running equipment, and their function has guaranteed the smooth running of the games. So I want to commend each and every one of them. You're all heroes behind the scene. Thank you.
Thank you very much, lady there, and then gentleman over there from CNN, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. I'm from Fazhi Daily. I want to ask Madam Teng about volunteers. Compared to 2008, in terms of the volunteer service, what kind of challenges you have had for volunteer services, and how did you address that? Also, after the Winter Games, Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games, what kind of legacies will be left by the volunteers to the city? Well, compared to 2008, I think we had mainly 3 challenges. The first one is, of course, the challenges created by COVID-19. So in the training we provided to the volunteers, we included the elements and knowledge about the countermeasures and prevention and control. And also we increased the number of professional volunteers who are professional medical professionals who help us with the COVID-19 control at the venues. The second challenge is because of the special features of winter sports. Because we didn't have a lot of experience in volunteering in winter sports, especially in cold weathers and in mountain areas. So that is why the organizing committee started very early on in the training of volunteers in that regard. Meanwhile, when we were recruiting the volunteers, we also considered the comprehensive abilities of the volunteers, including their physical conditions and their knowledge of winter sports. And in the training of those volunteers, we also have strengthened their awareness of self-protection. And the third challenge is because of the 3 competition zones in 2 regions. And because of the COVID-19, we provide accommodations for all the volunteers, but and there are distances between different competition zones and the venues, so that means volunteers had to work even harder compared to 2008. In terms of legacy, I think we have abundant legacies left behind. After the Beijing Games, we will summarize the volunteering work during the games and also promote what we have learned, all the experiences. It includes tangible legacy, human resources legacy, and digital legacy, etc.
For example, we'll be in touch with the volunteers and to make sure that we can have a good foundation for the volunteering on human resources. And we will also have a good summary of all the mechanisms and the policies we have formulated during the time of the games for volunteers so that we can further roll them out in the future after the games. Thank you.
It's going to be the last question. I think we've gone to the hour mark now, and we have I should tell you, at 12:30 we have the announcement of the Athletes Commission elections. So we're going to have to clear the stage and come back. But let's have this last question.
Yeah, Jonathan Crane from Deutsche Welle. A question.
Sorry, Jonathan, Deutsche Welle.
It's okay. CNN is a compliment. A question for you, Mark, and maybe Ms. Yan, if she wants to chip in. You know, we have Russia on the verge of declaring war on Ukraine. we have Ms. Yan's comments about One China. So I just want to know, this UN resolution, the Olympic truce, is it worth the paper it's written on? Thank you.
I guess all 193 nations of the United Nations think so. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. We'll be back here tomorrow at 11 with the President of the IOC, Thomas Bach, and I thank you very much. And we have to clear the stage now because at 12:30 we have another announcement. Thank you very much.
Okay, wait a minute. I have something to say. Since this is the last time that we had a joint press conference with IOC, so I need to say just a few words. 很高兴
Mr. Zhao Weidong and me, myself, are very happy to have been working together with Mark Adams and all the journalists from China and abroad to have gone through all these daily press conferences during the times of the games. On the 20th, February the 20th, chairman of BOCOG and other executives of BOCOG will host a press conference on the 20th and meet the journalists to answer your questions. Journalists and media from home and abroad are welcome to join us at that press conference. Thank you very much.